I did want to talk about Donald Trump's involvement with Saudi Arabia real quick, because this is a really good video.
Presidential election. Donald Trump appeared at a UFC event, flanked by bullet-headed UFC CEO Dana White.
Bullet-headed.
And Elon Musk, who had just spent $270 million electing Trump. But there was another person there who wielded as much influence and wealth as pretty much anyone alive. Yasser al-Rumayyan, the head of the Public Investment Fund, the Saudi state-run sovereign wealth fund, which controls about $930 billion. Al-Rumayyan could claim some degree of ownership of practically everyone and everything around him that November night. From UFC, which was planning some splashy events for Saudi Arabia, to Elon Musk, whose companies had long been recipients of Saudi investment capital, and Trump himself, a stalwart Saudi ally whose political, economic, and family interests had come to depend on Saudi largesse.
It's clear that Saudi Arabia has been investing in Trump and Trump world for a long time.
I love the Saudis. Many are in this building.
Lobbyists representing the Saudi government paid for an estimated 500 rooms at President Trump's D.C. hotel.
The Live Golf Invitational.
The Saudi-backed golf tour.
At the Trump National Doral.
Have a good time, everybody. They buy apartments from me. They spend $40 million, $50 million.
Trump Tower, Jeddah.
Am I supposed to dislike them? I like them very much.
And foreign governments, they understand. They're dealing with the transactional president.
Crown Prince, thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
And now, as we head into a second Trump administration, the question is, what more do they want?
How would you describe the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia?
I think it's fine, but with me it will be GREAT, great.
The host of the FIFA World Cup 2034 will be Saudi Arabia.
What we're seeing with Saudi Arabia is unprecedented because of the sheer amount of money that they've put in.
Kareem Zidane is an investigative sports journalist.
They're investing in absolutely everything.
Al-Rumayyan's appearance at the UFC fight wasn't just about Trump. Sports have become a key part of Saudi Arabia's investment and influence peddling strategy. Kareem and his colleagues Play the Game mapped over 910 sponsorships from Saudi entities in 2024 across the globe. There's the ownership of the Premier League's Newcastle United, the creation of Live Golf, a competitor to the PGA Tour, sponsorship for the Women's Tennis Association, backing Formula One's Aston Martin. There's MMA, esports, equestrianism, wrestling, cycling, billiards, and a potential new venture into boxing.
As a matter of fact, it might be easier to list the sports that Saudi Arabia hasn't invested in. Honestly, I can't think of one at the moment.
The Saudis would call it investing. Others call it sports washing.
Sports washing is the deployment of sports as a means of reputation laundering. When countries use sports and major sports events, for example, to distract from human rights abuses. When Saudi Arabia invests in sports, it's really looking for geopolitical influence. It's looking to recraft its own global image. It might not reap the most significant monetary returns, but I don't think that's what they're interested in from sports. They're looking at influence, and I think they're doing a damn good job about it, as much as I don't want to say that.
And this is happening with other Saudi investments too.
What's your take on the unabashed expansion of the Saudi Investment Fund into Silicon Valley?
In 2016, then Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS, made a well-publicized trip to Silicon Valley.
The charm offensive. One of the things that he did also was get glazed up by The Atlantic. The editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, of course, is a former Israeli prison guard and was totally on board with the peace offensive, the charm offensive, as they called it.
By 2018, Saudi Arabia was the single largest investor in U.S. startups. But where was that money going, and what was it doing? Let me give you an example. Twitter. When Twitter was a public firm, the Saudi Kingdom Holding Company was its largest outside shareholder, owning a bigger part than even co-founder and longtime CEO Jack Dorsey. But it wasn't just a financial relationship, as I've covered in my reporting. Twitter has long been an important place for the Saudi government to propagandize on behalf of MBS's economic program flood Saudi-related discussions with posts from pro-regime trolls, and track and harass dissidents, some of whom have been doxxed, arrested, and tortured. In 2014, Twitter's leadership learned that a key MBS advisor was running a spy ring inside Twitter's San Francisco headquarters. Twitter never publicly...
Under liberal control, by the way. Don't forget. Under liberal control, by the way. Make no mistake. Okay? Under a liberal administration, under liberal control, all of this was happening. So that's why you have to remember when I say why I say American foreign policy is uniparty, okay?
Accounted for its role in fostering the Saudi spy ring. Jack Dorsey enjoyed a chummy meeting with MBS just 6 months after the Twitter CEO had been told by the FBI that his company had an espionage problem. They weaponized their investment, used it to spy on, target, and harass critics. And they did it all without any consequences. And their investment continues today.
Let's fight.
So back to the fight. And other guest, Elon Musk. When Twitter went private under Musk, Kingdom Holding Company rolled its shares into the new private entity and became its second largest investor after Musk. But Twitter wasn't the only tech giant receiving backing from the Saudis. In April 2023, Sanibel, the venture capital arm of the Saudi Public Investment Fund, did something surprising. It published a list of dozens of American venture capital and private equity firms it had partnered with, showing just how widely the kingdom's money was being spread around. Tech, AI, surveillance, media. But the influence purchasing campaign doesn't end in Silicon Valley.
I would like to bring up the CEO of Affinity Partners and former senior advisor to the White House, Jared Kushner.
That's Jared Kushner, the husband of Trump's daughter, Ivanka. He served as a senior advisor in the first Trump administration and was everywhere. And by all accounts, he had a lot of influence on his father-in-law. But he's known for one thing above all else.
It seemed as if from the get-go that Jared Kushner...
He's a brilliant mind. One of the top minds of statecraft here, okay? So good. Did you get billions of dollars from the Saudis? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Was charged with cultivating the relationship with the Saudis.
Virginia Cantor is Chief Ethics Counsel at Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington.
It appears to be that at the end of the administration, the payoff was a $2 billion investment in this investment fund.
Just months after leaving the White House in 2021, Kushner's newly minted investment group, Affinity Partners, secured a $2 billion commitment from the Saudi Public Investment Fund, or PIF. The news raised a lot of eyebrows.
Some next-level sleaze and grift going on right in front of our eyes.
This is just putting a price tag on American foreign policy.
I've been in this business 40 years. This is
Jake is just Islamophobic. That's why he's saying it. Make no mistake. Jake Tapper, the one time Jake Tapper is going to be against American interests is because one, it's Trump doing it, and two, because he's anti-Trump. And two, more importantly, it's because he's doing business deals with Muslims. He can't have that.
Extraordinary, unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it.
The reason it was so egregious.
Jake Tapper's not even pro-Israel. He just hates Muslims. He just comes across like he's pro-Israel because he's just genuinely hates Muslims so much. That's what it is.
He had no experience in that field.
The panel responsible for screening potential PIF investments reportedly voiced serious concerns about Kushner's lack of experience. But the board was overridden by MBS, the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia. That news raised even more eyebrows.
Isn't that a nice story of friendship? Things you do for your bros?
MBS proved to be a close ally to Kushner in the first Trump administration, working closely with him on various Middle East diplomatic negotiations. They worked so closely, in fact, that MBS reportedly told others he had Kushner in his pocket.
It appears to be a payoff based on Mr. Kushner's dealings with the Saudi government and particularly MBS during the Trump administration.
A Senate investigation found that Kushner's fund raked in $157 million in management fees, all while generating no return on investment for his clients. Jared, of course, sees no problems with the $2 billion transaction.
For my critics, what I say is point to a single decision we made that wasn't in the interest.
To my critics, I say, do you have $2 billion? No, I didn't think so. That's right. To my critics, I say, get your money up, not your funny up, okay? Sorry, shouldn't have been at the Istanbul embassy, okay? Wrong place, wrong time. Sometimes you get chopped up.
Of America.
Okay, I'll point to one. How about letting an ally kill a Washington Post columnist, Jared?
What was really troubling about the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, there was every indication.
Oh, whatever, dude. $2 billion again, 2 billion. Just saying, 2 billy.
That it was carried out by the Saudis.
Also, fake news. He was doing fake news. Who cares? Washington Post. This is ironic. This is funny because, like, this is also part of the reason why, you know, the Jeff Bezos MBS fallout happened too. Like, this is part of the reason why the Jeff Bezos MBS fallout happened. They were buddies. they were homies. And then MBS hacked his phone. MBS killed Jamal Khashoggi. Jeff Bezos was like, "What are you doing? That's a journalist that you just killed from my newspaper. You can't do that." And then MBS was like, "Hey, check this out. Boom. Pegasus software in your phone. All of a sudden, now the entire world's got your news, Jeffrey. Now your entire world's got the news, Jeffrey. Oh, you were trying to on ladies. You were trying to cheat on your wife. Guess what? Now everybody knows." Okay, not everybody knows. That leads to one of the most expensive divorces of all time, obviously, between Jeffrey Jebediah Bezos and his wife. It's just like a very funny chain of events that took place from the Jamal Khashoggi assassination. That, like, two homies, you hate to see two homies fall apart like this. You know what I mean? Over one critical assassination of an American journalist. Like, what? He's Saudi too, you know? Wait, that's why he was divorced? Yes. You want to know why you don't know about this? Even though it was, like, kind of mentioned in the media? Because Jeff Bezos literally did everything in its power to stamp it out. Okay? Every like newspaper, Daily Mail style newspaper that wrote about it had private investigators. Jeff Bezos was like, "Oh yeah, you're going to write about this story about, you know, all of this all this embarrassing details. Guess what, dude? Have fun." He hired a private security contractor and literally monitored every single journalist and editorial staff member that dared to write about the story, which is part of the reason why there wasn't a lot of coverage on the story. I mean, it obviously got out there. It was a big deal. It's Jeff Bezos getting a divorce after having a fallout with MBS and possibly having MBS, like, you know, literally hack his phone. But that's the reason why many of you are probably shocked and you're hearing about this for the first time ever. What a crazy story. Pegasus, of course, is the Israeli surveillance software that MBS used against Jeff Bezos, an American billionaire. And yeah, but since then, Jeff Bezos also got hit with the Dominican Ray, just like Mark Zuckerberg, and he's fine now. He's brolic. He trains. He's got his hot young thing, his age-appropriate wife, or not age-appropriate wife, age-appropriate girlfriend. You know, that's my goat, my king. What's NBS? MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, that guy right there. That guy who killed this guy right here.
Basically, you know, Kushner and President Trump gave MBS a pass by virtue of not, you know, calling them out.
Why are you siding with the Saudis over your own intelligence? Because it's America first for me.
That definitely set the tone for how they were going to deal with human rights violations by the Saudis. And it wasn't just that, there were other incidents.
And the list is a long one. There is the use of his second presidential veto,
a resolution putting an end to the U.S. military involvement in Yemen,
allowing continued U.S. support to the Saudi-backed war in Yemen. There's his abandonment of the Iran nuclear deal.
The United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
Saudi Arabia views Iran as one of its biggest enemies and, you know, was very much adverse to the Obama negotiated Iran nuclear deal. And, that was disrupted as part of the Trump administration.
There's the $110 billion Kushner-negotiated arms deal between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia.
There was a blockade involving Qatar.
The president today is siding with the Saudis. The crisis critical to the U.S. Qatar, home to a key U.S. base with 8,000 U.S. service members.
And so this unprecedented closeness is being interpreted in a new light since the 2021 investment from the Saudis to the one person who always has Trump's ear.
Is it both a reward for how Kushner guided the Trump administration's foreign policy regarding Saudi Arabia in the past administration? And does it look like a payoff for how he can influence President-elect Trump in his future dealings with the Saudi Arabia?
Kushner has said he won't take a formal role in the second administration, but reportedly looking to be an informal advisor on Middle East matters. And the investments in Trump world haven't stopped.
And the primary financial backer of Leave Gulf is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And they engaged in deals with the various Trump golf courses. And it's pretty clear, when you have his sons going overseas in this transition period to lock down deals, it's a way of signaling that Trump is open for business. And if you want to be favored, you better be first in line.
When you have someone like Trump, he tends to take the existing corruption in Washington
Cutie
and just turns it up to 11.
Matt Duss is Executive Vice President at the Center for International Policy.
Mohammed bin Salman, when he visited the Oval Office,
Thank
and
you for
Trump
the
pulled out
50
that
big
famous
ones.
poster with all the different weapons that were on sale as if it was, the side of a good humor truck. Here are all the various ice cream and delicious treats that are on sale.
$3 billion, $533 million, $525 million. That's peanuts for you.
And that was funny, but it was also, I think, a great demonstration of how Trump...
Someone actually brought up a really interesting point. This is so infuriating. Right-wing conspiracy theories should be all over this shit. And that's a really interesting point that you just brought up. Right-wing conspiracy and all matter of conspiracy theories are bubblegum. They operate as a distraction, so you don't actually focus on the real actors conspiring, not in theory, but actually conspiring. This is it's alluring, it's interesting, but don't you find it very strange that conspiracy theorists oftentimes fail to comprehend the real conspiracy happening right in front of their eyes? I mean, even think about capitalism. Think about capitalism. You can sell the concept of capitalism as a conspiracy theory if you wanted to, but it's not enough. People don't want to operate on the assumption that people are just motivated by self-interest and the system is designed to churn out these results, and that all of these dealings are not happening behind closed doors, but instead happening in broad daylight in front of your eyes at Davos, at the World Economic Forum, and places like that. But that's the whole point of conspiracy theories in general. Okay? It operates as a distraction from the actual people conspiring. That's it. And also, I mean, there's obviously like partisan zealotry at play here as well. What do I mean by this? Think about Donald Trump having the Oracle CEO talk about doing mRNA vaccine research with AI. Why are people not yelling about that? Why are the anti-vaxxers freaking out about that? That's crazy. Donald Trump, who also was responsible for Operation Warp Speed, mind you.
Think about this. It's just a relationship based on, okay, what are you going to buy from us? What are we going to get from this?
Since 1945, the Saudi-U.S. relationship has been defined by a superpower's willingness to overlook pretty much anything its oil-rich ally did. The U.S. got another military foothold in a sensitive region and influence over global energy markets. But this alliance between an unmatched global hegemon and a repressive theocracy has corrupted both sides.
I mean, there were problems with this relationship going back many years, just as there are more deep-seated problems in the way our foreign policy and our policy in general is formulated. the various avenues of influence that very, very wealthy interests have. And I think the influence that the Saudi regime has been able to garner is a reflection of that much bigger problem.
And they are exercising that influence, especially in their efforts to secure a U.S.-Saudi defense pact.
Securing an agreement in which the United States committed and guaranteed to protect Saudi Arabia, it's a sign of approval from a global superpower. It's a kind of normalization, of Saudi Arabia to say that you're just another normal country, and this is how normal countries behave.
Saudi Arabia has worked hard during the Biden administration to secure a defense pact with the U.S., despite Biden's promises to get tough on the Saudis.
Make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
They came close to getting it.
And I think we're going to see that kind of approach continuing, essentially trying to bid up the United States to get as much out of the United States in terms of commitments and support into the future. Would the United States get anything that's remotely worth a commitment of sending young American women and men to defend this regime? I think the answer.
By the way, this is why partially why I was saying like is Jover, like there's no combating like sports washing. You can cry into the wind, you know. What percentage of viewers are hate watchers? Probably not that big of a percentage.
There is clearly no.
As the second Trump administration begins, with all of its financial ties to the country, what more could be on the table for Saudi Arabia?
Certainly we should be aware.
Bro, they're getting nukes, okay?
Of the acute danger of Saudi influence in a Trump administration. But ultimately, if we really want to solve this problem, we need to understand that it goes much deeper and is much more longstanding than just with Trump.
These billions pouring into sports leagues, entertainment companies, tech firms, what does it actually buy?
We've become very good friends over a fairly short period of time.
It appears to buy influence.
We are with Saudi Arabia. We're staying with Saudi Arabia.
It buys silence.
Mr. President, we address the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It buys power.
Deputy Crown Prince, thank you very much. This was a great day and a great honor.
What price did we really pay? What price did the world pay?
And now it's time to keep our eyes on just what it could buy in a second Trump administration.
We really have a great friendship, a great relationship, and I think we'll probably only get better.
Big mistake from More Perfect Union. Just one mistake. I don't recall seeing the orb photo. Did they post that in there? Because I feel like if they did, they should have posted it more frequently throughout the video. Because I think that's like one of the most insane things that has happened in the Trump administration that I thought was really funny. They should have just plastered it throughout, randomly just going back to it. You know what I mean? Randomly going back to the orb. Not enough orb photos, but other than that, fantastic coverage. A lot of friends of the show were on it too, which is interesting. Anyway, the orb photo. Oh, come on, dude. You haven't seen the orb photo? What? Are we crazy? How have you not seen the orb photo, man? What are you talking about? Bro, you've never seen this? This is the first time you're seeing this? This is from the first administration, the first time Trump was president. It's so awesome, dude. It quite literally is like they're visiting Saruman. Leave him alone. I love this. It's so villainous. The aura is so villainous.